The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Once you've tanked, once you've gotten your draft pick, you look over to save your team and like, oh, wow. Oh, God. Oh, God.
What did I do?
Yeah, it's kind of like waking up after a really bad hangover and seeing the results of your.
You wake up and there's like a donkey in your bed, and you're just like, you go out and there's a tiger in the living room. It's just...
Or you look at your roster and there's like a donkey in a jersey and pads, and you're like, oh crap, is that our goalie?
Your number one center is a chimp.
Yeah, exactly. You saw that one movie MVP, and you thought, why not? So
we actually signed Taro Sugimoto. He was a joke. I didn't know.
But you just kind of look over at your team and you're like, oh crap, that's right. We traded our decent goalie last season because he was winning too many games.
Listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
I thought of this because it was Canada Day yesterday. Speaking of which, happy Canada Day, Mike, belatedly.
Thank you.
And
did you enjoy your hot dogs, apple pie, and maple syrup?
I was at a fireworks show, and so had...
Hey, that's our thing, Canada.
Right, what are you doing?
I was at a fireworks show, so got to see some explosions, drank some beer, and ate some barbecue. So all in all, a good day.
Well, if you had
that
some
sounds
barbecue,
far too American.
It really does. It sounds awfully American, Mike. What the hell are you guys doing up there?
Well, it's summer. What do you expect?
Well, I don't know. You can...
I mean, explosions, beer, and barbecue are our thing.
I thought you guys were better than that up there. Come on.
Tell you what, next year we'll replace the barbecue with some Timbits.
There you go.
Well, yeah, you got to have some Timbits, and then just kind of go around, hey, so we've been a country for 148 years. That's pretty cool, yeah? Yeah.
Also, last year, what was really cool to see, the Blue Jays shellacked the Red Sox. That's always nice to see on Canada Day.
Speaking of Canada and the differences between your great nation and our great nation, I have this question that I thought of when I was driving my car yesterday.
Okay.
My speedometer has the miles per hour on the outside and then the kilometers per hour on the inside, and I thought, I wonder if in Canada if that's reversed. So
It is.
It is.
It is, yes. We do have miles on our speedometers, but they're on the inside.
Okay, so when you were driving down here, you had to switch over and pay more attention to that, right?
No, not really, actually, because when I was driving through the United States, I was using a GPS to get where I was going.
Ah, so you just used that.
The GPS is set in kilometers, so it told me what the U.S. Speed limits were in kilometers, and then I just had to stay under that in kilometers, and I was safe.
Ah, okay. I was just curious about that. I figured that was probably the case, but you never know.
Yeah, no. Jack was also very confused when he got into my car, and he saw it's like, wow, that's weird.
Now, did it take you a while to get used to driving on the right side of the road while you were here?
Wouldn't that be an interesting crossover at the border? So everybody that's over here, you gotta go over there. So one at a time.
You just see
please.
You just see the cross. They'd have so many arrows at the border crossing. Canada Day. That is when our application was accepted and stamped and approved to be a country.
Oh, see, that's just, I mean, that's great and all, but not much of a story there, really.
It's like
oh, the paperwork came through. Let's celebrate.
It's like our friend Cosmic said. Had you guys just had a little bit more in you could have been free for 200 years with a little blood on your shirt. But
I guess peace is fine.
Yeah, peace in 148's cool. Whatever.
No, we went over this. It would have been rude to rebel. You know, that would have been rude. It would have caused an inconvenience for we didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you just nicely asked.
So we nicely asked, and
if you could let us be free at some point, that'd be great. What do you think? I don't know, guys. Do we need Canada anymore? I don't know. Do we need Canada? No. Canada, you can go do your thing. Oh well, thank you. Hey guys, they said it's cool. So what do? We need a flag. What do we have a lot of? Well, our favorite team's the Maple Leafs.
Even back then, huh?
Yeah. Let's put a maple leaf on the flag.
The maple leaf flag actually didn't come until 1965.
Really?
Okay, nerd.
Yeah.
What was it before that?
I'll pull it up. It was
it was a Union Jack. It was just like Australia and New Zealand. It was like a field on it.
It was the Canadian red ensign.
So I've lived in a world where the Canadian flag wasn't the Canadian flag.
Yes, the Canadian flag was adopted in 1965. This, Greg, was the Canadian flag before that.
Really? Boy, I learn something every day on this show,
Jack
don't you?
in the top left.
Oh, you did a definite upgrade. I like your flag a lot better than this.
There are still people who prefer that flag.
No.
It's a tradition thing, is what it comes down to.
I don't care.
Yeah, because you want to keep your ties to the crown. And
in fact, the flags of Manitoba and Ontario are currently that flag, only with the Canadian coat of arms replaced with the provincial coat of arms. And the reason why is because, it was a political issue. It's more complex than this, but it kind of boils down to the Liberals wanted to change the flag. The Progressive Conservatives wanted to keep the Union Jack flag. The Liberals were forming the national government, so they changed the flag, but the Progressive Conservatives were in power in Manitoba and Ontario, and they protested by adopting the red ensign as their provincial flags.
Well, now, the one I'm looking at here, the flag of Manitoba, has looks like a buffalo on it.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting.
Well,
why they should have put a moose?
Well,
Don't you think?
there are a lot of buffaloes in Manitoba, is what it is.
All
Again,
right.
Mike, we have the buffaloes. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you killed all of your buffaloes.
That's
No,
right, we did.
we didn't.
We damn near did.
There's a couple on Catalina Island. We're fine.
Well, cool. So happy Canada Day to my second favorite country in the whole world.
Woo!
Yeah, you guys are all right.
Canada.
That's right. That's right. I love Canada. Love it.
Epopeo, il se porte l'acqua.
Whatever, soup eaters.
But
Bet you're all missing Josh Hamilton.
No.
Oh, you are. Admit it.
I mean,
It's okay.
I just think it's weird that I don't know why he would resign.
What I heard last night was that Jerry Dipoto embraces the advanced metrics a lot more than Mike Scioscia does. And from what I understand, I only kind of half heard this. It sounded a lot like it came down to defensive shifts. And I thought, well, that's just a really dumb reason and that you can't work that out. But it seems like Scioscia is more old school and Dipoto is not. And, you can't have that.
Well, you know what? That doesn't make any sense, though. Because Scioscia's always been kind of progressive when it came to defensive shifts.
I don't know.
He was one of the first guys to do it.
But then you had Albert come out and defend Mike Scioscia, which I think says an awful lot, that the players are on the side of the manager, not the general manager. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's always going to be the case.
Sometimes.
Unless they hate the manager.
Right. But Scioscia, if he was hated and wasn't a good manager, he'd have been gone by now.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The only thing that I question Scioscia on when it comes to on the field stuff is he tends to leave pitchers in a little too long because he was a former catcher. He's always trying to fight for his guys. Like no, he's going to work through it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty good at telling when a pitcher's done, and it's just like you just know it. You can just tell, and they're not going to work through it. Ask the Red Sox back in, was it 2003 when name left Pedro Martinez in too long? You knew Pedro was done. You knew
as soon as he left it in, I knew they were losing. They were going to lose this game.
Yeah.
It's a strange situation because, we always knew that there was tension, and then all of a sudden those reports come out about the meeting over the weekend, and then a day later he resigns.
I don't know. It's still too early, I think, to be panicking like this.
Right. Well, it's because if it's a pure resignation and it's not a ultimatum, of course, if you ask anybody, it wasn't an ultimatum. And if you ask my Scioscia, no, we used the metrics and the analytics, and we took all that stuff.
You brought up the pitching, and maybe this was a point of contention between the two of them, where Dipoto had hard numbers that show that certain pitchers at a certain pitch point lose their effectiveness, and Scioscia's like, no. it's a feel thing or whatever. And maybe who knows?
I can see that.
That is my big thing with the analytics, is that ultimately I find they just put labels and numbers to things that you can that if you just watch sport long enough, you kind of just pick up naturally. Basically, pitch count basically just tells you kind of it kind of standardizes that general sense of, okay, this guy's done, that you just kind of pick up if you watch baseball long enough.
I agree. I think that the analytics certainly have a place in the game, and there are certainly good elements to come from them. I also think, though, that they can be relied on a little too heavily sometimes. So you got to find the right mix, and apparently the Angels did not find the right mix between Dipoto and Scioscia. At least that's what it sounds like coming out, what little I've heard about it. Now, there may be a lot more to the story. I don't know.
Ultimately, I think this kind of brings up just a larger debate in the realm of sports, I guess, management, but ultimately, who should have final say over these kind of things? The manager or coach or the general manager? I mean, theoretically, if you're you hired the coach because you want him to run the team his way. So I don't know. I always think this is an interesting debate when it comes down to these sorts of questions, like who should have final say over how the teams run. Ultimately, you're hiring the coach to do that job, right?
I think in this situation in particular, though, it's Scioscia's been there longer than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everybody else. He's been there longer than the owner has.
Yeah, he's been there longer than Artie, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. From what I understand, Artie and Scioscia never have seen eye to eye exactly.
Well, Artie hasn't won a World Series yet, so maybe he can.
No, but Artie's come in and done a whole lot of dumb things. I'm fine with him getting Albert Pujols, but that's a lot of money for Albert Pujols. And, of course, it sounds more like Artie pushed the contract across the table. And that's the same thing with Josh Hamilton, too.
Hamilton was the contract I had a problem with.
Right, and that's the one where most reports said that Artie Moreno went around Dipoto and said, no, Josh, here's a contract, sign it. And Dipoto's like, but I don't wanna.
Do it!
So, I don't know. It's a weird
so
thing.
Weird.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
People like this isn't just in this case, although it's certainly applicable. All owners, beware of the story of Jerry Jones and Dave Snyder. Just because you have enough money to own a pro sports team doesn't mean you're smart enough to run a pro sports team.
That's where you run into the problems, as you get these owners that think, especially Jerry Jones because he played football, that he knows as much as the guys that have made their – Jerry Jones didn't make his fortune playing football.
No.
He should realize, hey, I played the game, but not long enough to know as much as these guys do, but he thinks he knows as much as anybody else does, and it just doesn't work out.
Just shut up and let the people that you're paying sometimes millions of dollars, let them, run things, and you'll look like a genius if what they do nets your team a championship.
Right. And I will just, to answer your question, I can't speak for the other sports, but in baseball, all decisions should be left to me. And then we'll solve all the problems. All the problems.
So they should make you commissioner of Major League Baseball?
Absolutely. Oh, my God. You guys would love the game if I got my hands on it. Believe me.
Well, Greg, you did cast your official MLB All-Star Game ballot this week. And I saw it, and I noticed a strange omission, Greg.
Okay.
Not a single Kansas City Royal on your roster.
I thought there was one.
No.
Wasn't there?
No.
Hold on, let me go look here.
I don't think you put a single Kansas City Royal in
I do have to admit, on a certain level, I really do admire Greg's dedication to casting the All-Star ballot the right way.
Best All-Star ballot in baseball.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what?
A standard I routinely fall short of, but I still admire him.
I did do one thing I don't normally do, though. I voted 10 times.
Greg.
Ballot stuffing.
I had to. I had to.
Tainting the process.
I had to offset Mike's ballots of all those Blue Jays, so I thought I'll vote 10 times.
Hey, I was more fair on the NL side because I don't care.
No, it came down to Alcides Escobar and Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, and I thought Bogaerts had him beat by just a little bit, so I went with him, and that's why there's no Royals.
Well, did I lose I think I lost the link.
To my vote?
No, not to your vote. To the current vote totals. It doesn't matter because a bunch of Royals are now out of the top. So
if anybody wants to know, I'll just give you really quick. My American League vote, it was Steven Vogt at catcher, Josh Donaldson at third, Bogaerts at short, Brian Dozier at second, Pujols at first, Nelson Cruz is my DH, Outfield of Trout, Batista, and Jay Martinez of the Tigers. On the National League side, Buster Posey behind the plate, Paul Goldschmidt at first. I had a really tough time with second base because Dee Gordon's hitting a really great batting average, but that's about all he's doing. Johnny Peralta was a tough call for me. Todd Frazier was a no-brainer at third base. Jock Peterson for the Dodgers. Bryce Harper and Juan Carlos Stanton, even though he's going to be out, I couldn't leave those numbers off the All-Star ballot. So there you go. My official vote that I used 10 times.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that.
Yeah, sure. I did catch a little bit of flack. Our friend of the show, Dennis, said I voted the right way, hence how Johnny Peralta made your ballot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he even hashtagged me best vote in baseball. Damn right.
You voted the Cardinal way.
So how many computers did you have to hack to
you're allowed to vote, what is it, like 35 times a day, I think?
You are.
Like
a day.
25?
Yeah. I thought it was 35, but yeah.
Maybe.
Look at me. I've tricked you guys into talking baseball for 10 minutes here.
Hey, I love baseball.
Not bad, huh?
Well, actually, speaking of baseball, Greg, and speaking of the All-Star game.
Unlike Zach, I'm not a heathen who's fallen out of love with one of the best games in the world.
I'm paying more attention to it.
He'll get his groove back. It's going to give him a little time. It's happened to me before, so I understand where he's at.
I mean, it also helps that the Angels can't hit the goddamn baseball. So
no, because they should have. I'm sorry, but that game last night was just sad. Just sad.
Yeah, no. What was it? Was it in the 9th inning or the 8th inning? They had bases loaded and one out, and they get a pop up to the shortstop. And
that was the inning when we were talking about.
Hey guys, don't knock that. That's Blue Jays baseball right there. That's old school Blue Jays baseball.
It was the 8th inning because we were talking about when we were going to record today, and I said Trout's going to homer right here, and that's going to be that. Then they'll win it in the ninth.
And then he walked. Yeah, that's right.
And then I forget who popped up, but it was.
Ibar popped up because Trout walked, then Pujols walked.
Yeah. So,
but
they're only 5 games out, so it's not like they're having a terrible season.
No, there's
it's still way too early to be panicking.
I was watching it.
We're still in summer,
right?
Right. I was watching the game at the office with another Angel fan, and he was saying, just like he was complaining about all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? It's not even the All-Star break yet.
No.
They're still they can make up some of that ground in the next 2 weeks before the All-Star game, and then you're okay.
They're going to play.
They were 4 games behind the A's all the first half of last season, and then
remember that Oakland was a team to beat. They were going to win the World Series. Remember all that?
And again, to go back to the analytics, that's my other biggest argument against it. Why hasn't Billy Beane won a World Series yet?
Because
Oakland also doesn't spend you can skirt the margins for as long as you want, but eventually you need somebody that's actually
good,
above and beyond talent.
That's exactly what it is. And
you have a bunch of average dudes, but you need a couple guys that are better. Than
also, it helps to not trade one of your best players,
right? But in a long season, the analytics work because you've got plenty of room to make them work. Not so much in a 5 or 7 game series. You need guys that are going to just outperform everyone, and he never had anybody like that. That's why. His pitching was always pretty good, but and I know that the analytic people swear up and down it doesn't exist. I swear to you it does. I played the game long enough to tell you clutch hitting is real, and he had no clutch hitters on that team.
No, it is. It's like any other sport. Like in hockey, if the Blackhawks are in a Game 7, Taves is going to go off.
Yeah, but you know who's not going to go off next year for the Blackhawks? Brandon Saad.
That's right. Yes. Causing our friend the Admiral to have a bit of a meltdown.
Yeah.
So, do we have more baseball before we move to hockey?
I have one baseball thing. Yeah.
Okay, because I really want to talk about these trades. Okay, go ahead.
Well, we talked about baseball. We talked about the All-Star game. There's a new home run derby format.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Did you read about this?
I started to, but I won't watch it either way.
I like the home run derby.
I don't.
So this is the way it's going to work.
Okay, Ty Cobb.
I love home runs. I don't like the home run derby.
It's going to be a 8-player bracket.
Okay.
So 1 versus 8, 4 versus 5, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6. Timing will be 5 minutes per batter per round. Any home runs hit during the final minute of each turn will stop the timer. The timer will not start again until the batter hits a ball that is not a home run or swings and misses at a pitch. Bonus time. 1 minute of bonus time awarded for 2 home runs that equal or exceed 420 feet. 30 seconds of bonus time added for 1 home run that equals or exceeds 475. Both bonuses can be earned by hitting 2 home runs that equal, resulting in a total bonus of 1 minute and 30 seconds. This instance will be tracked and posted using MLB's advanced media StatCast. Nobody cares. Batter with the most home runs will advance to the next round. Ties on any round broken by a 90-second swing off with no stoppage or time.
Well, that 90-second swing off could be taken a lot of ways, couldn't it?
Yeah. Each batter is entitled to one 45-second timeout per round.
So basically, they're putting a clock on it to try to speed it up a little bit.
That's what it sounds like.
Good.
And they're putting it into bracket form
Because everybody loves brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the NHL realized that when they reorganized their playoffs into a bracket. You put your whatever into a bracket and you put a blank bracket up. People are going to flock to it.
Was this the first year the NHL did that? Because I don't recall people talking about their brackets until this year.
They've been doing it for a few years
last year.
now.
Okay. It was last year, wasn't it? Wasn't it the first year?
Yeah, it was when they first started when they first introduced the new alignments.
Yeah, so last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this will speed up the home run derby, I'm all for it because I don't know. It's fun for a couple minutes. I think it's like anything. It's fun for a few minutes, but too much of it is just too much of it. And that's where I'm at with the home run derby.
I went to the home run derby when the All-Star game was here in Anaheim. Yeah, and I enjoyed myself.
Speaking of, this is going to
hit up, just clubbed a bunch of home runs.
This is going to take a bit of a detour off what we're talking about, but it's still baseball related. Have you guys ever heard of this group called Dodger Films?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
There's these group of guys. They have like an actual handheld camera,
right?
Okay,
and they get to Dodger games really early.
They're season ticket holders, yeah.
They sit out on the bleachers in left field, and they film themselves catching foul balls,
batting practice balls.
Yeah, or batting practice balls.
And let me tell you,
they get a home run during the game. They get all insane.
But and then they do like little highlights of each game. Now, it sounds stupid, and it probably is. I started watching them yesterday, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm hooked. I must watch like 7 episodes of their stupid show.
If I was a Dodger, like I watched one episode, I'm like, if I was a Dodger fan, this would be neat. But I just don't have any care.
Well, if they're staying the whole game, then they're instantly the best Dodgers fans out there.
If they're there before first pitch, they're the best Dodger fans.
Yeah, they show up and they show up in time for batting practice. Both teams, I think, and they stay till the very last out because they have what they call it's a dance off if they win, where they go down the steps out to the parking lot dancing the whole way. It's stupid as all hell. But
they keep track of because there's like 3 guys and they actually keep track of how many balls each guy has caught during the season.
I think Benny has the lead with 52 right now. Sure. But
you
anyway,
know them by name. Oh,
there's Benny, Moneyball Steve, Deep Left, and the other guy I think goes by Dodger Films. But like I said, it's stupid but strangely appealing. I don't know what it is about it that I like, but I really enjoyed it, and I wondered if you guys had ever heard of it.
No, I haven't. I don't know. Maybe it's just still that one guy who caught was it A-Rod's 3,000 hit? But
the guy that has 8,000 baseballs.
I don't know. Like going out of your way to get a baseball at a ball game should be unless it's like a really big milestone hit. Just kind of seems odd if you're like above the age of 12.
Well, I guess it depends. I having never gotten a ball at a game, I would go out of my way. I thought about that while I was watching the Dodger Films guys. Mm-hmm. If I'm at a game, and then I was watching a game last night, and somebody got a foul ball and they handed it to a kid, I thought, okay, ever since I was a kid that age, I've wanted to get a ball at a game, and I've never gotten one.
I've never gotten one either.
If a ball came to me, would I give it away? And I thought, fuck no. I worked too damn hard for this. I'm keeping it.
I think it all depends on the situation. Like, if it's pretty much just you in your section, right? Like,
yeah.
Or if there aren't any kids around, then if you get one, then hey, you get one. Yay! That's cool.
I would still keep it. I think,
but I don't know.
Well, I think Mike and I we're in an age where we could keep the ball and not be looked at as jerks.
We're under 30, yeah. So I guess
I have a solution though. I figured it out. See, last night.
Unless we actually push a child out of the way, then that might be a problem.
No, I've got a solution. I figured it out last night because this was a dilemma for me, and I thought I've got the perfect solution. I will take a baseball with me to the game, and if I get a real one, I'll pull the other one out of my pocket and hand it to a kid. Nobody will ever know the difference.
That's scummy.
That's perfect. Come on, kids not going to know the difference.
No. This is right. No, here you go. want to say I'm hugely disappointed in the Arizona Coyotes' new uniforms because the original concept that I had seen of them, the one that I'd say I'd buy, like one of if that were it, that was really promising. It integrated the sand color into the uniform. It included just enough of the Kachina pattern to not be overwhelming. It was all in all a pretty nice looking uniform as far as the Coyotes go. And then when they ended up releasing just kind of looked like that, but blander.
Oh, see, I really like them. I'm with you guys. I would have liked to have seen the sand be used more, but I like the look overall. I think it looks good.
I like the white jersey better than the maroon one or the Sedona red. I don't like the black and the red touching without any separation.
Some teams like the Senators or the Devils can pull it off when they use a standard red, but
when you use the dark red, it's hard. Yeah,
the dark burgundy brick red just makes it all look muddled.
There's a recap of all the teams.
I think these are going to look better when you see them on the ice. Right now, the shot I'm looking at, they're in a hallway. And even the pose shots aren't the greatest lighting. I think once you get them out there and you get them on the bright lights with the ice, the white reflecting up, you're going to get all the contrast you need. I like them. I think they look really good.
I like their new paw shoulder patch.
I do like that.
I don't like that they're only doing the one patch on each side thing again.
No, I don't get the point of that. Okay, here's the thing on that. Because the Predators do the same thing. They have only the alternate logo on one shoulder.
I think it's two different patches on each shoulder.
Oh, actually. They really? What's the other patch?
The state.
Oh, they're keeping that?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the Preds or are we talking about the Coyotes?
Coyotes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they got two patches. Right, left shoulder is the paw with the A on it, and the right shoulder is the state map with updated AZ font.
With the
there is. Looking at this picture here, there is a patch on the right shoulder. Yes, I don't know what it is.
It's not copper plate. It's their new font that they made.
But I thought that the Paw A logo was going to replace the state logo. No. Okay, that's stupid.
No, it's on the right shoulder now.
They need to pick one. The state outline and the initials inside of it will be changing soon, but we'll get to that.
I like when somebody posted on the boards. It was like one season uniforms, and they put these, and they said they'll be wearing the Quebec Nordiques uniforms next year. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, if you make the bottom of Arizona pointier, it does look like Las Vegas or Nevada.
Nevada, yes, it does. Either go with the A or just go with the A or keep the state. Go with the Paw A or keep the state. One or the other.
And the other unfortunate thing is the Kachina pattern didn't make it onto the thing. It's
there, Greg.
It's a hanger effect?
It's a hanger effect.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That is so dumb.
And I wish that they would have gotten some sand striping in, because the problem is the only sand on the entire uniform. Well, I guess it's on the shoulder patch, but it's in the logos. You could have very easily replaced one of the white stripes with a sand stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are a few tweaks away at being decent. Throw in some sand striping, put some Kachina on the sleeves or arms, and I think you have something interesting. But as they are now, I'm just underwhelmed.
I like the white better than the red, though.
I really like them. I'm surprised that you guys are as lukewarm to them as you are.
The white is definitely better, but it's still... Maybe it's my fault for building these up into something. Maybe it's my fault for expecting them to have done something better.
But I respect the fact that you're taking responsibility for it.
This will be the last. That'll be the last time I put faith in the Coyotes organization to do anything.
Well, that was your first mistake right there.
I mean, it's just with the logo they have so much potential to make something interesting, and they just don't.
Well, I like them. I would have liked Mike's. The one Mike's talking about better, but I still like these a great deal. I think they look good.
The next one that they have down here, which all around a downgrade and is a mess, the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, this didn't work at all.
Taking off the Yeti foot patch logo and replacing it with now a burgundy and red version of the Colorado state flag.
I guess we should be thankful that they didn't just put the Colorado state flag.
Yes,
because that would have been beyond stupid.
Right, but with those and the addition of the 20th anniversary patch and them not doing anything else, not getting rid of the apron stripes or anything like that, the Avs jerseys are still a complete tire fire.
I've gone on record on the show before saying that I was never the biggest fan of the Yeti foot, but at the very least, I thought that it at least looked like it went with the primary logo. Like it all seemed part of the same package, even though they were smart and they didn't put the new C alternate logo in Colorado State flag colors, which would have been terrible. Even though it's in team colors, it looks like it's completely disjointed from the primary. So I look at. So even though I wasn't a fan of the foot, but at least it fit. This doesn't fit. And that
20th patch, this jersey's just screwed. It's just bad.
And then once you add a captain's patch on that sits on the other apron string too.
Well, it'll look like those little badges they wear at TGI Fridays over their apron. That'll be kind of nice.
They've got so much flair.
Well, they got flair, yeah.
Now, will the captain's patch just be a smaller C? Colorado State flag C.
Oh, please don't.
Because that would just be the Calgary Flames thing to do.
Oh, now we're getting into Angels territory if we do that. That'd be great.
Well,
come on.
Have you ever seen that picture, Greg? Back when
Calgary? Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, when the Flames when the Flames first brought back the Atlanta Flames A for their alternate captains, and then they decided, well, we'll just have our captain wear the C too. And then so Theo Fleury was skating around like an idiot with 2 flaming C's on his jersey.
So let's move on to my
next
guys
one.
here.
Yeah, your boys, the Columbus Blue Jackets. They took the third jersey logo and basically recolored it into red, white, and blue and put it on the shoulder, taking away the Civil War cap logo.
Which I love because that was the only logo they've ever had that actually hinted at what the team name is.
I think it looks okay, but I agree with our good friend McCarthy that these are 2 logos, the one on the chest and the one on the shoulder, that were designed independent of each other,
right?
And don't look like they go with each other,
right?
It's a Colorado problem all over again.
I like the recoloring of it. I think it looks good on the jersey, but it doesn't have any business being on the jersey.
It's like if they had started out with this, it'd be fine. But if you know that there's a better shoulder patch, then I understand they're trying to tie in all the brands, and maybe unfortunately, because I think the C Star is actually pretty good. Unfortunately, I think we might see a push towards the Canon as a primary.
I was just going to ask, do you think this is
later?
A step towards making the Ohio Flag Star thing, putting that back as the alternate, and making the Canon jerseys the primaries?
I think the Canon is going to become the primary, and I think this is the first step in that direction, if only because the Canon is such a big part of the Blue Jackets game experience. And so I think... And it's not necessarily a bad idea because we talk about new expansion teams or newly relocated teams like the Lightning or the Hurricanes, like trying to ape original 6 tradition. And the Canon is a case where the Blue Jackets, a newer team, kind of have their own tradition that developed organically, and I could see the team wanting to lean into that as much as possible. Like, this is a tradition that we have. We didn't copy it from anyone. This is distinctly ours, and we are going to own it completely. So I kind of see where that's coming from, but the C Star is just so nice a logo. I think it would be a shame to lose it.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I would prefer that it remain the primary because I think it's the best of the bunch. Mm-hmm. I like the alternates an awful lot, but they're not as good as the primaries. And so I hope they're not headed that direction.
And I want to emphasize, I'm not a big fan of the loss of the cap logo because, it's one of the only logos they've ever had that directly references the Civil War, which is the origin of the nickname.
But the nice thing for me is now both of my jerseys are throwbacks, sort of. So, there
you go.
Yeah. See, the other thing that I see with Colorado and Columbus, I hate when teams do little things like this because it's like, well, what's the purpose?
Exactly. If you think
you're not really making a new jersey and adding a shoulder patch isn't turning the world on its ear.
In Colorado's case, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but I do think that the Jackets may be headed in the direction we're talking about, where the alternate's going to become the primary, and this is going to go back to being an alt.
But when we were discussing the Colorado State flag rumors for the Avalanche last week, we did point out that apparently the state flag is in vogue right now in the state of Colorado, so that might be why they did that. As for the Blue Jackets, I think this is the first step on making the Canon the primary, although I agree with Zach. If that's the direction you want to go, then do that. Make that the primary. Design a new uniform. Don't just do this half measure and be like, hey, we changed something.
The other minor thing that's not on here, the Ducks changed the lace color on their home jersey, on the collar. It's now, instead of black laces, they're white laces now. And it's like, well, why? What does that really do?
This was what was holding us back.
Yeah.
When they reel off 3 cups in a row, you won't be talking like that, will you?
From your words to the hockey god's ears.
When Ryan Getzlaf is on the podium talking about it, and he says, the difference was when we switched the colors of the stripe or the laces in our jerseys.
The black laces were too heavy; they were holding us down.
That put us over the top.
Yeah.
Next on our list, the Edmonton Oilers.
I'm disappointed that the back doesn't say Alberta.
Yeah, this is a direct throwback to the Alberta Oilers with the orange jersey and the numbers on the shoulder yoke, which I think is an interesting touch.
I've always been a fan of that. It's not something I want to see every team do, but I think a team or two could get away with it, and I much prefer it to the stupid front chest numbers that some teams seem married to.
Which I believe the Sharks have gotten rid of now.
They've replaced it with an anniversary patch.
Right.
I'm still not sure. They might come back next season after they get rid of the patch.
if that happens, then the Sharks are really the dumbest organization on the
planet. We've already known that where their answer to playoff collapse was to fire the color guy.
Well, it was probably his fault. He wasn't enthusiastic enough, or he was too enthusiastic. Maybe he got the team's hopes up too high. Who knows? I just want to say, looking at this picture of Connor McDavid and that alt, I can't see his face, and he still looks depressed.
But I've watched a little bit about McDavid over the last week because they've had them mic'd up and following them wherever. He just generally seems like that type of dude. He's just like, I like hockey. I like playing it.
No, he's Canadian. Of course he's reserved and uninteresting. He's a good Ontario boy. You leave him alone.
I'm just ready to play some hockey. He's very low key, But I like these Oilers. The collar's kind of funky. But it's a direct throwback to what the collar used to look like.
Yeah, they aren't nearly as orange as I thought they were going to be. And people are listening going, well, they're orange, but what I mean is they aren't as neon. They're not as hard to look at as I thought they would be. I think they look good. I like it.
Now, another thing I'm disappointed in is that this uniform failed to, because there were 2 versions of the Alberta Oilers jerseys. The first one had Alberta across the back.
Yes.
They did change that up when they finally put player names on the back in the goofiest font that you've ever seen on a hockey jersey. This is a throwback after they started putting player names on the back, and this is the font that they really should have gone with if they wanted to be authentic.
All right, let's see here.
Well, like it was hand-drawn?
It's like
that's almost Comic Sans, almost.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like proto-Comic Sans.
Well, even so, it's not. If they were doing a direct throwback, the name would have just been white, but they made it blue with white outline, just like the numbers are.
As far as the Oilers go, I think this is the perfect throwback. Yeah. I never had a problem with the navy and copper scheme, but I have to admit the Oilers just look right in standard royal and orange. And given that I think a throwback is probably the team's best choice, this is as good as anything from an alternate. I'd rather have this than like the robot sperm that they had for a while.
Yeah, that was bad.
I thought the logo was okay. The problem is, the 5 notches on the gears represent our Stanley Cups, and there was something like 11 captains or some garbage.
Yeah.
Well, wow.
It tried too hard. Plus, it's like, so are you saying you're only going to have 5 cups? Because what if you win another one? Do you have to redesign the logo?
Right. Right. And the final one on here, which I think is probably the best change, the Montreal Canadiens, they get a white lace-up collar.
Well, if any team could get away with the lace-up, it's Montreal.
Right. Well, they get the lace-up. They also just make the collar white, like the old versions of this jersey.
Wasn't there like a blue trim on it before?
It was white, blue, white, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. It was 3. It was not a lace up, and it was just the simple white, blue, white collar that they'd had been using since the 70s, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know why they hadn't done this before, but on the home jersey, it's the French language version of the NHL shield, which is LNH, Ligue Nationale de Hockey.
It mirrors what the Alouettes do on the Montreal Alouettes, where the French version of the CFL logo at home and the English version on the road.
Speaking of the CFL, my Red Blacks were on last week, and I tuned in at halftime, and the freaking halftime was so long I gave up on it. I said, I'm not even going to bother anymore. I was so hoping they were wearing their plaid helmets.
The length of halftime.
It was. I think it was because it was opening weekend or something like that in the CFL.
Yeah. The CFL just started up. So
the Electric Six came out and did a few tunes, and it was awesome.
It's called pageantry, okay?
Yeah, you know what the pageantry was? They had these people on one of those scissor lifts that the construction people use, and they're like, "These are your new high-tech seats." So they put them on these leather couches and strapped them in with these yellow safety harnesses and rose them up in the air. I'm like, "Here you go." And then the lady that was interviewing them, she goes, "What if they have to go to the bathroom?" And they're like, "Well, no one thought of that." What were we talking about?
We're going to go into the trades.
Trades, yeah. So where do we start? Do we start with my Columbus Blue Jackets putting the final piece in place? Or do we start with Phil Kessel?
I think the long national nightmare is over. Mike, tell us your feelings of getting rid of Phil the Thrill.
I want to go on record saying I was never someone who thought that Kessel was the problem, necessarily. I always thought that he was perhaps miscast, that he was put in the position of being the, capital T, the guy, when he probably shouldn't be the guy. He's a good support piece. I thought that maybe the Leafs were asking a bit too much out of him, but I never thought that his production was necessarily the problem. That being said, I'm relieved that he's gone. Just because I think that he became too much of a focal point, too much of a distraction, and if Babcock wants to rebuild the team his way, then you probably need to tear it all down and let him start from scratch, and that includes moving Kessel. They're still eating, $1.25 million of his cap hit?
Yeah, they can afford that. Did he take his boys with him, or is he just got to go by himself?
No.
I talked, as soon as I got there, I talked to Jim Rutherford. I'm like, Jim, I can't play with Crosby. I need my boy Tyler. Bosey's going to be up there all in Toronto all by himself, and now the media is going to come down on Bosey. And they got to leave Bosey alone, man.
Watch Kessel strong-arm the Penguins into trading Sidney Crosby for Tyler Bozak.
All right,
do you think he'll play with Crosby or he'll play with Malkin? Probably Crosby, right?
Yeah, but I'm also kind of thinking if you put him on the line of Malkin, then you can, kind of cluster all the underachievement onto, one area of the team.
Malkin won a Conn Smythe when they won the Cup.
Yeah, and, kind of like the rest of that team, he should have had a better career following that than he has.
Well, maybe.
Well, okay, so fun aside, how is this move for the Penguins?
It's good because they get rid of his money and they got a bunch of pieces back.
No, I'm talking about the Penguins, not the...
the Penguins.
Does it help them?
Yeah, they've been looking for a winger to play with Crosby forever.
They've been looking for a winger to play with Crosby, and if you look at their last playoff run, they could have easily beaten the Rangers. Marc-Andre Fleury avoided his annual playoff collapse.
Right.
And so you look at the Penguins and you say, well, why did they lose to the Rangers in that first round? They could have won. It wasn't goaltending. They couldn't score.
They couldn't score, yeah.
Scoring has never been Phil Kessel's problem. Again, his problem in Toronto was that he was asked to be the guy when he would have been better served as, a side piece.
Basically, he's better as a Pippen than he is as a Jordan.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in this scenario, he's got Crosby, he's got Malkin, so he doesn't need to be the Jordan. He can be the Pippen. And I think actually we're going to see Phil do very well in Pittsburgh. I don't know necessarily if it solves their playoff problems, but I definitely think this is a step in the right direction for the Penguins. And I think this is one of those trades where I think everyone got something that they needed.
And, yeah, if Kessel's been moved, I think Pittsburgh's been the most rumored place as of late as to where Kessel was going to go. So it just seemed like it was destined to be, especially after Pittsburgh lost out on Brandon Saad.
Oh. Yeah. Thank you.
Brandon Saad to the Blue Jackets.
Better believe it.
Oh, God. Just before we move on, just want to say CBC.ca has 5 memorable moments with Phil Kessel's Leafs tenure.
Do they include ping pong? Do they include Leave Dion Alone?
I've got to imagine that number one is him and Tyler, doing karaoke to Wrecking Ball in the locker room.
Anyway, so back to my Blue Jackets, who have finally put the final piece in place for the miraculous Stanley Cup run next season.
Or Brandon Saad's legs will blow up.
God, don't say that.
I'm just saying.
No, the Blue Jackets.
This team's going to be tough, man.
They're stacked at forward. They maybe need some defense a little bit, but they've got a solid core of forwards now. I
was thrilled when I saw they picked up Saad. I'm like, this is a great move. Would they get rid of Anisimov and who else?
Artem Anisimov, Mark Dano.
Dano is the one that I see a lot of Blue Jackets fans kind of lamenting the fact that they got rid of.
As a future guy, but you see what Saad is right now.
Right.
And they can still get better.
Saad's young. What's he, 23, something like that?
Yeah.
How old is he? Yeah. I mean, this is a move. I think it's a great move for the Jackets. I love it.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things, Zach, you mentioned, how good Saad is now. And I think a lot of people might be surprised when they hear this. But in a lot of ways, you could say the Blue Jackets are kind of entering a stage where they might want to be looking at, win it now. I mean, it's odd because they really only had that one playoff appearance where they, played very well against Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. But considering that last year they just had to deal with an ungodly amount of roster shakeups of the injuries, you could make the argument that this team is actually right in the middle of hitting what should be their stride that, just one bad season kind of derailed. But if they can stay healthy, then Saad is a fantastic addition. And I don't think going far-ish in the playoffs is outside the realm of possibility, at least a second-round appearance.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, you've got Ryan Johansson, it's a good player. Now you've got Brandon Saad. Dubinsky's not bad. Nick Foligno's not bad. This is going to be a pretty tough team, I think. I'm with you. Who was it, Mike or Zach, said that you need a little more defense. I'm with you on that. But
Zach said that, yeah.
But, I mean, I love this move.
Also, you don't want to necessarily write defense off. I mean, the Oilers did that. We all saw how that turned out. But
I think the difference is they have a better goaltender than the Oilers.
They do.
Bobrovsky's good. And he's shown that even with the defense in front of him, he could still play very well and win the team games if the defense plays well enough. But yeah, I like what the Blue Jackets are doing over there.
Well, here's a question I had about the Saad move.
Metropolitan Division champs.
I hope.
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past them because another kind of breaking news as we're recording this: Martin St. Louis has retired.
Martin St. Louis.
So. Not that he was all that integral to the Rangers' current run of success.
Much to the relief of his father, he retired.
But yes, but Marty. But okay, I mean, I guess you could make the claim that maybe the Rangers' window is starting to close.
Yeah, because Greg, what was the Rangers' problem in the playoffs?
Couldn't score.
Right. So St. Louis retires. They traded Carl Hagelin to the Ducks.
Oh, that's a nice move for you guys. Yeah,
it is a good. Yeah, I mean, we traded Emerson Edom, who I liked, and as a kid from Southern California, he's a Long Beach kid, but I'd rather have Carl Hagelin.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So their goal scoring, their guys that scored goals are less than they were before.
Rick Nash is a year older. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
and Rick Nash showed his propensity for.
Right.
He had a great regular season.
Oh yeah.
And then where did he go?
He would have been just as effective sitting in the stands. He was on the ice.
The Rangers, and with Sather stepping down, maybe Sather saw this thing's going to go south here quick. I'm going to take a step back before somebody blames me.
Blame the new guy. It was all him.
Well, I mean, again, now I only know what I know and what I see, but I never thought that the Rangers ever looked as good to me as their record seemed to indicate they were. I think a lot of it was, I think Lundqvist carried them a long way.
Their backup goalie also carried them a long way. They had 2 20-win goalies that season.
Yeah, and I just, I think you're right. I think they might be heading down the other side of the hill here.
Honestly, I think, and I don't want to turn this into a prediction show. I think it's too early for that, for one, but I guess kind of a preview of where my mind's at regarding the Met, as I'm going to call it. I see the Penguins and the Blue Jackets kind of dueling it out for that top spot.
And wouldn't that be just a great rivalry to have?
I think so.
And honestly, I think that'll be good because you have, that Ohio-Pittsburgh rivalry seems to resonate with a lot of Ohio sports fans. And if you give them if you kind of graft that on to Blue Jackets hockey, that's only going to grow the fan base there. So
I just think that the Jackets, again, now you don't carry over from one season to the next, but they showed last year, once they got healthy, how good they could actually be. And they were. I mean, unfortunately, it was too late to make the playoffs, but they were playing, I mean, just tremendous hockey towards the end of the season last year. And now you add Brandon Saad to that mix. I'm liking it. Just a good young team on the way up, I think. It's going to be fun.
it will be.
I mean, Matt Calvert's not a bad player either. You know, I mean,
No,
there's
Calvert, Johansson.
Well, Johansson, I think, is going to be a star. I think he's going to be.
Jenner,
Cam
Cam Atkinson
isn't terrible, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's going to be fun.
It's things are looking up.
And
for,
we
for
still
the
got Jack motherfucking Johnson. I mean, come on now.
JMFJ.
That's right.
Still in the building. But see, that's also why I think that they need better defense, because if he's your best defenseman, then that's an issue.
Right, yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there wasn't any really crazy free agent signings that I can think of.
No, nothing really big.
I mean, Matt Bolesky was probably the highest coveted free agent. He leaves the Ducks, goes to the Bruins for an extra year and a no-trade clause, and I don't blame him for that.
I wanted to, before we move on, I wanted to ask a question about the Saad deal, okay?
Sure.
Because I heard a lot of talk to this, because we've all talked about the Blackhawks window is going to be closing for financial reasons.
Yes.
And now, I get that you don't want to get rid of Kane or Taves. I mean, I understand that, but wouldn't you think that Saad would be a guy you'd kind of want to hang on to at this point and maybe move some money some other way? Because, I mean, isn't that part of the reason they got rid of him was because they knew they were going to have to pay him down the road?
It wasn't just that we're going to have to pay him, it was that he was going to ask for a lot.
Okay.
And you don't want to have too much money tied up in so little players.
Right.
Because they have Kane and Taves up front, and then you got to assume that they're going to have Keith back there forever.
Oh, yeah.
Literally forever, because he's an indestructible Terminator robot.
Until his batteries go dead or whatever happens. But yeah.
I mean, he is the only thing alive who can stand the hits of Ryan Kessler. So
yeah. I know. I really wish he had never said that. But you gotta pick and choose where you're going to spend your money, and they've already put the money into Kane and Taves. They put the money into Keith. I would assume they're going to put the money into Crawford. And if you have your two best forwards, a defenseman, and your goalie making the big bucks, then you kind of have to slot where you're going to spend the money elsewhere.
Right. I mean, this is the Seahawks. This is the Seahawks in a few years. You got to make tough decisions.
Right.
Right. And with Saad, he's a first line winger.
Yeah.
And he's going to make that money. And if you're the Blackhawks, you can't be paying all that money to three guys.
Yeah, you're basically paying one line. Pretty much the bulk of your salary, of your big money spending is all going to one line. Yeah.
And in a sport like hockey, where depth is super important, you can't skimp on the third and fourth lines.
No, you can't.
Like you think you might be able to, and we can get by a couple grinders, but you can't do it. And the other thing that you have to do, and what the Blackhawks have,
I don't know, 4 defensemen for a full season.
Well, yeah. Well, what the Blackhawks have coming up, and what teams like the Ducks have used, and it's becoming more and more prevalent in the entire league, is when you have young players that are on those entry-level contracts that don't pay a whole lot, and they're contributing, you have to use them to the most that you can for as long as you can. So, they have Teravainen, who's coming up and playing well for them as a forward, and he's still getting paid on the cheap because he's still on his entry-level contract. So they can afford to spend money on those lower positions because they have a guy with talent that isn't being paid a whole lot and can't be paid more because of the way the salary structure works. It's kind of the same thing that Mike mentioned the Seahawks. It's like the Seahawks had with Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman and all them. They were all on their first deals in the league,
right?
And so they could afford to spend elsewhere. And then once you win those couple titles, then everybody else wants theirs. And it's like, well, okay, we got to keep you, and then we got to fill in the blanks. And the Blackhawks have been able to do that better than everybody, really. And I mean, you look at their first cup. They win the first cup, and then they traded away guys like Dustin Byfuglien and Andrew Ladd. And they got rid of 7 guys after they won the cup.
Andrew Ladd, worst captain in the NHL.
Yes.
So that's oddball.
That's a board joke.
Yes.
But I think the Blackhawks made the right move. They're probably still going to trade guys like Sharp I don't know if they're going to pay Seabrook or not. Seabrook may leave too, and maybe Johnny Oduya, but so they're gonna have to do some retooling. But I think the Blackhawks did the right thing here. I think it was surprising.
How did their fans react to it?
How did they? Well,
I saw a little bit of it, but I'm not talking about
I think everyone was expecting that someone was going to try to sign Brandon Saad to an offer sheet because he's a restricted free agent, and then they would get some compensation with draft picks or whatever. But for them to trade him like the day before free agency was probably the more surprising move, and that they traded him to Columbus because everyone had pointed him to be to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's always been looking for a wing.
He's from Pittsburgh, isn't he?
Kid, yeah. And everyone always criticized the Penguins after missing out on him in the draft, so they were going to try to right that wrong. But for him to go to Columbus was, I think, it was a big deal. Not just because the Blackhawks traded him, but it's a big deal that Columbus snagged one of the top, off-season.
I got to be honest. This is the first time I can remember my whole life where I am this excited about the upcoming hockey season in July.
Right? Oh, what? Sean Horton didn't.
Nathan Horton.
Nathan Horton. Sorry, yeah.
Well, he was great for those 5 games that he played in 5 years. But no,
he's going to be a great Maple Leaf, right, Mike?
We are paying.
I forgot you guys still have him, don't you?
We are paying him to. We are paying for his corpse to just sort of lie there, in the locker room, and it works out.
But yeah, I'm excited because the way they played to close out the season, and then this move, I'm like, it's going to be a fun team to watch next year. And like you said, I'm surprised that they went with a big splash like that because that's not their style normally. The next modern dynasty, here we come.
The only other thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to the Hockeys, the San Jose Sharks, and in relation to the Boston Bruins. So. The Sharks traded Antti Niemi to Dallas, and at the time it looked like people were like, are they going to stick with Alex Stalock, their backup, as a starting goaltender? Well, no. Doug Wilson, the GM, said no. We're targeting mystery goalies.
Oh, God damn it!
You got to like the mystery goalies. You never know what you're going to get.
Guys that you don't think. People don't think are available, but trust me, they're out there. And, mystery goalie.
They put 3 goalies behind a door, okay? Or each behind, like on the old Let's Make a Deal. Right. And you got to pick one. And you better hope you pick right.
I picked door number 2. Door number 2 is, I'm sorry, that's Chad Johnson of the Buffalo Sabres. Take your prize.
Mystery goalies, huh?
Mystery goalies,
That just shows you just how much of a goddamn joke this team is.
Well,
mystery goalies.
Mystery goalies.
God damn it.
You couldn't just say, we're targeting some goalies. Not mystery goalies.
Adds a little palace intrigue to the whole thing.
I think when he said mystery goalie, it meant I don't know who the fuck we're going to sign. Oh, hey, he's available. Okay.
Yeah. I like the mystery goalie thing. It's fun.
They should have done what the Leafs did in the 70s. They should have had the goalie come out with a bag over his head.
I was just going to say, here's what you got to do, right? Okay, he can keep his mask on. That's
Who's
fine.
Who's that masked man?
But he has a mask, and on his jersey number, it just has a question mark on the back.
Oh, my God, that's getting the Bacchus music. But yeah, I think that was a little
Steve
fun.
Shields doing these days.
Steve Shields. The guy the Ducks traded for Teemu Selanne.
Yeah.
To friggin' San Jose. Dumbest trade I've ever seen in my fucking life. Hey, San Jose, would you like Teemu Selanne? Why, yes. We'll give you a Jeff Friesen and a Steve Shields. How does that sound? Underwhelming, but we'll take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's Tabs.
Zach's Tabs Candidate Edition.
Deadspin and Awful Announcing and the Hollywood Reporter, so multiple outlets, are reporting that contract talks between Keith Olbermann and ESPN are 95% dead.
Not a surprise at all.
They want to keep Olbermann around because he's been really good for them, but they want to take away the thing that's been good for them. ESPN has pushed him to try and drop the commentaries from his show.
Oh, forget it. Why even watch him then?
That's the point of the show.
Right, exactly.
Right, that's the best part of the show. Particularly they weren't thrilled with all of his raging on Roger Goodell and Bud Selig. Right, but ESPN and sports media in general needs this type of show.
Yes, they do.
They need someone to call them out on their shit sometimes. Mm-hmm. The rest of ESPN's not going to talk bad about Roger Goodell or the NFL.
Well, here's the thing, okay? I get where ESPN's coming from, sort of. I understand that the NFL, that's your cash cow and all that. But you don't have to kowtow to them this much. Come on.
Wouldn't it be something if Olbermann ended up taking his show to Fox Sports 1?
You know he would never do it.
No, he wouldn't, but it would be hilarious.
As like a point of contention, you know he would never want a check signed by Rupert Murdoch.
Getting a check from Rupert Murdoch is better than not getting a check, period.
Yeah.
And I get, okay.
And plus, maybe he can, maybe he and Bill can share a cubicle at Fox World headquarters, or he and Bill O'Reilly, they could.
Well, we're not even
water cooler talk.
We're not even tossing into the picture here is NBC Sports Network.
Yeah. Well,
no, but they also have
I think we've seen
the NFL though.
Yeah, NBC's in deep with the NFL.
Yeah, but not like ESPN is.
But I think we've seen that NBC Sports Network isn't a place to go for that sort of thing. I can tell you what they have on during the day.
You go there for two things: hockey and car auctions.
Right. Well, yeah, and they have Premier League soccer and
yeah.
Well, that too, I guess, but I just think it's nonsense. I mean, if you take away his commentary, there's no point. And then he's just Sports Center. What's the point in even watching him?
Exactly.
And another thing is that, by having Olbermann on their network, having him say what he does, from a purely cynical standpoint, it gives ESPN the cover of legitimacy. And we're not all kowtowing to the NFL.
Exactly.
We got Keith, and he's,
The tag team they had with Olbermann and leading into Outside the Lines, the two of them together, those are the two things that were different from the rest of ESPN in that they would challenge things or report on the bad stuff or get in depth with the problems.
Actually have a discussion about sports.
Right. And, I mean, Olbermann's show was already cut down from a full hour to a half hour last year.
Yeah.
And this is only his second year there. They signed a 2-year contract just to see if it would work out, and I think it's worked out pretty well.
I watch it all. I mean, I don't watch it live, but I watch the clips on YouTube every day.
Oh yeah, and and I think that's in the age, in kind of the atmosphere we are in terms of media. I think that's almost as important as the actual live viewership. For
the smaller programs, I think it's more important than the actual viewership.
Ratings aren't nearly as important as they once were. I mean, you just upload the show piecemeal to YouTube, and that's how you get your point across.
Right. Like I said, a smaller show like his, I think it's far more important, the online, the quote-unquote new media presence than the actual TV presence. But think about this if you're ESPN, okay? You had Bill Simmons on there bashing the NFL all the time, and you've got Olbermann. ESPN may look at this and go, because the NFL, you know how the NFL is. They can look at it and go, you know what, sorry, ESPN, we're going to move our package over to Fox Sports, and guess what happens then? Fox Sports suddenly becomes, just like ESPN did back in the 80s, becomes completely legitimate because now they have the NFL.
Do you think, though, that the NFL would do that just based on one guy at a network?
I think if they thought that ESPN wasn't playing ball with them, yeah, I do.
But ESPN kowtows to them at every other possible opportunity.
Right.
I think if they have one guy that's, I mean, and Olbermann's always going to be an anti-establishment sort of dude. He's always going to question the people in power, no matter where he goes. I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's not. It's not at all.
It's not a bad thing, but the one thing I took away from the NFL this past season, dealing with all of the issues that they dealt with, is that at a very basic level, the NFL is detached from reality. They don't see it as unreasonable to demand that their television partners give them 100% deference. In their minds, they don't see a problem with forcing ESPN to shut down the one guy who's giving them a hard time. The NFL just doesn't realize that they think that them acting this way is completely fine. They don't see it as a problem until someone reminds them what things are like in the real world.
Well, not only that, but as long as they can control the story, they can control how the story is being presented. Mm-hmm. As long as there's an Olbermann or a Bill Simmons out there or anybody else, they can't entirely control everything and put the proper spin on it.
Well, I mean, Chris Berman said it best. The NFL says jump. You ask how high. when push comes to shove, ESPN has never shied away from being the unofficial propaganda arm of the NFL.
Where do you think the 12-month NFL season started? It started with ESPN. And
Yeah.
just,
I mean,
you know,
and plus they spent all that money on that ridiculous, obscene set.
yeah, Olbermann needs to stay there. He's not pulling like Howard Stern or basically a sports show type stuff where he's like, fucking asshole, this and that and the other thing. I mean, any criticism he has is well thought out, well written. He's not just down there like just, yelling names and throwing things at people like we do. He's doing it legitimately. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Former Florida State's mascot was stabbed to death over a gumbo recipe.
Well, that hit peak Florida.
Last week, according to a Tallahassee Democrat report, a man who used to portray Chief Osceola was killed during an argument about a gumbo recipe in Panama City Beach.
Sounds about right.
He got into an argument with a coworker at a seafood market in Panama City Beach.
What is it with FSU and seafood?
The two men were reportedly arguing over the amount of spice to put in the gumbo.
Well,
Thompson
sometimes you
grabbed
got
a wooden board, the other guy a small wooden knife, then the other guy got his own knife and slashed him in the torso 3 times. He died 2 days later from the injury.
You stabbed a man to death over a disagreement over spices and gumbo.
They take that shit seriously.
I just see these two guys in like a dank alley, with knives on each other, arguing about gumbo.
In a dank seafood market.
In a dank seafood market, yes.
I promise you, too, that wasn't the dumbest fight that was had in that area that night.
You're probably right. ESPN has announced its roster for the 2015 body issue.
Oh, God.
Bryce Harper, Kevin Love, DeAndre Jordan, Odell Beckham Jr., Brittany Griner.
Brittany Griner, really?
Yeah. Okay. The WNBA
I know
player.
she is, yeah. I mean, Brittany Griner, great basketball player, wonderful person, not so much to look at.
This is the same publication that took naked pictures of Prince Fielder, so...
Good point.
Physical attraction is not necessarily number one on the priority list.
You'll also get Tyler Sagan.
Okay.
3 members of the Indianapolis Colts offensive line.
Oh, that ought to be good. Can they get that and Brittany Griner in the same shot somehow?
I don't know. Maybe she could jump over them.
I still can't get over the fact that they put Prince Fielder in one year. I mean, that's just mind-blowing.
I know. I mean,
anyone thought oh yeah, that's who we need for our naked issue.
Guys, a very special event happened the other day on June 30th.
Yeah,
okay.
I voted for the All-Star game.
No.
Oh.
We had a leap second.
I heard about this.
Normally we have leap years, so you get leap day, February 29th.
Okay.
But every so often, to make sure that the clocks are super accurate,
yes,
we have a leap second.
So we added an extra second to the clock?
For the day.
Well, see, no, that's not bad. We got a little extra free time there.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but hey, any little bit helps.
What did you guys do with your leap second? What did you do with your extra second of time?
I was unaware. June 30. I guess I was here.
I want to give you the perfect segue here. I'll tell you what I did with my extra second. I was probably on the boards because on June 30th I celebrated 10 years of wasting time over there.
Oh yeah, and Admiral was one of the only other people. He
figured it out. Like, what are you counting down to?
He figured out that I was counting down, and he couldn't figure out to what.
Yeah.
He thought I was leaving the boards. Like I would ever, after 19,000 some odd posts, I'd do a Blaze of Glory thread? Come on.
No, what would Greg's Blaze of Glory thread be?
Fuck off, I'm gone.
I was interested in the logos you chose for your signature.
Okay.
One of them, you chose the Decade in the Desert logo from the Coyotes.
Right.
What was the thought process into picking these logos, Greg?
10th anniversary, simple as that.
Just any ones you could find?
That had a 10 in them, yep. That's it.
Suspiciously, you left out a Mighty Decade.
I couldn't find it.
It's on there.
I couldn't find it. No, I did. I looked. The first thing I did.
In 2 years, when I have my 10th, I will use that.
I looked.
Mighty
First
Decade.
thing I did was I looked up.
Maybe I'll figure out a way to change it to say still Mighty Decade.
Didn't you break that out recently? The Mighty Decade avatar?
No, I'm right now. I'm using the inaugural season logo.
Oh yeah. Didn't they take the Mighty Decade banner down when Brian Burke said, "Get rid of all this Disney crap"?
Yes.
Because here's what I did with that whole thing, right? Every one of the countdown days took me, the whole process from day 10 all the way through to day 1 took 20 minutes. When I got to the actual anniversary part, I bet you I spent 3 fucking hours trying to find the proper logos for that. Because first thing I did was I looked for, our teams. Like, I tried to find the Leafs. I found a Blue Jays one.
Oh, yeah.
The Ducks. I went, and I couldn't find anything for the Ducks, because I thought the Ducks have to have one, right?
You didn't use the Toronto Maple Leafs 10th anniversary one from 1927? 27 years.
So that's how that happened. Yeah, it was just the ones I could find that had 10 in them somehow. That's what it was.
10 years in the year of 1927 of all Lord and Savior. 10 years of professional ice hockey in the city of Toronto.
And the thing about it was that once I was done, I was like, wow, that was just really a huge waste of time.
Yeah, but doesn't that encapsulate your tenure?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So, is that it?
I believe so.
Okay, then. You know the routine. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Website's basicallysportshow.com. Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, and the YouTubes. And you can also check out all the old episodes at the bassvault.tumblr.com. With that, any final thoughts? See, I threw you guys there.
See you, Bill.
Go USA Women's World Cup this Sunday. The championship match. USA-Japan.
Avenge Pearl Harbor.
This is actually a rubber match of sorts because they met in the 2011 final. Japan won. They met in the Olympic final in 2012 and the U.S. won. And so now this is the chance to set the score.
All right, well,
USA.
Go USA.
USA. USA.
What is it? I believe that we can win. Is that the thing?
I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win. Anyway, we're done. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Please hang up and try again.